It was the night bus from El Paso to Dallas. On my way to visit friends in Texarkana, on my way to visit a hookup in Hattiesburg, on my way to visit my son in Atlanta. I was going to need a lot of sleep, and I was prepared to do my best, but somewhere, early, around Van Horn maybe, I heard the most angelic singing voice I could recall. Sweet, light, but never childlike, gorgeously feminine, ecstatic and clear. And I tried to drift out my mind, but it focused in, and finally I heard her words, or at least her closing hook. All you fake-ass bitches can suck a motherfucking dick. She was 2 seats behind me, and I very slowly turned my body around to see her singing to herself and everyone else. No headphones. No, she was definitely the author of this song. A tiny Mexican woman in her mid-20s. I know what the mid-20s look like when they come with Kaposi sarcoma, you know. I know how to judge someone's age when she's forgotten to take off her hospital wristband. I managed a couple of light naps before I heard the mean girls head for the back of the bus, teenage Texans suppressing their accents, bragging about their urbanity. They proudly told everyone where they were from as I drifted away again, pulling me back in as they tried to start fights with a sick woman who hadn't yet noticed them, but they had noticed her, and that somewhere on the road, she'd taken off her jeans. She'd taken off her jeans and walked back in her panties to the bathroom in the back of the bus. She'd gone into the bathroom, pulled down her panties, sat, peed, pulled her panties back up while I moved to the seat in front of hers, right next to hers. She walked back to her seat where her blanket and jeans were. I, just in front of her, waited for her to notice the girls making fun of her, getting louder and louder, determined to make the whole bus notice that she had walked to the bathroom in her panties, which the whole bus had, and nobody else gave a godforsaken shit, until she finally heard them and realized and turned around and started to say something in that perfect halcyon voice, and I said, "Hi!" And she turned back around to me and stared. "What were you singing earlier?" It reminded me of Shirley Manson. You know, Garbage? "Yeah, I know. I like her. Thank you." I'm listening to her now. "You want one of my earbuds?" And she took it, baffled, but kind of happy. The mean girls were as baffled as she was. I don't know where they got their script, but I was not in it. So they got louder, and I was still drifting off, and I'd wait to hear her say to them, "What did you say to me?" And I'd say, "Where are you headed?" "Muskogee, that's in Oklahoma." "Yeah, what's there?" "My grandmother. Where are you from?" Texas, Atlanta maybe. You?" "I just got out of a hospital in Santa Ana. It's in California. I was in rehab, but I'm clean now." "That's a hell of a trip. Is that where you're from?" And then we were pulling into a truck stop, I don't remember where, but I was sure there'd be trouble if I let it be. So when she got out, panty-clad, to stretch her legs, and the mean girls got up to fight her, I said, "Can I buy you a candy bar?" The mean girls were talking loud, and by now the singer was hip to my game, though I suppose she would have taken that Snickers regardless. But I stocked up, and for half the way across Texas, the mean girls would yell something at her, she would yell something back, and I would say, "You want to split this sandwich?" And she'd turn around, smell so sweet, and say, "Yes, please," over and over until she fell asleep. She fell asleep, and she wasn't going to wake up on her own. So in Dallas, where everybody gets off the bus, I waited until the mean girls and everyone else was gone, and I shook her. And she tried to hit me, but I was ready and dodged and shook harder and said her name. Then she was, still in deep sleep, screaming at me, which might have been a socially awkward situation if I weren't in the Dallas Greyhound station at 7 a.m. on a winter's morning shaking an AIDS patient awake. Though by this point the driver was yelling at us to hurry up and get off the bus. I gave that dick a look and shook a little harder until finally she realized where she was. So we walked into the station, her apologizing profusely, and me saying it was all just fine. We sat and ate breakfast, and she said things like, "I'm on morphine," and "I'm clean now," and "I have to go to the bathroom." And I said I understood, and while she was still in there, but it was time for me to go, I poked my head into the women's, saw 2 stalls occupied, walked in, looked at their feet, saw hers, knocked, told her goodbye, and slipped a novel under the door. I got her to Dallas. Maybe someone else would get her the rest of the way. The Greyhound staff from Dallas to Muskogee would be a little less evil anyway. So I boarded the bus from Dallas to Texarkana, and as luck would have it, the very loudest mean girl was there, all by her lonesome, headed for less urbane locales. I sat across the bus from her and stared at her for 3 hours. And the whole time, I quietly sang my new favorite song, "All you fake-ass bitches can suck a motherfucking dick." Thank you. I've been writing poems in the New Orleans Sculpture Garden. If you don't know, the New Orleans Sculpture Garden is a fantastic place. We have decent art museums throughout New Orleans, but the Sculpture Garden is really a world-class garden. I can't recommend it enough. For those of you who aren't from New Orleans and don't get down to New Orleans, you know, the next time you are down there visiting, get your drunk ass up out of the quarter, go over to the New Orleans Sculpture Garden, you know, take a drink there, nobody cares. You'll be glad you did. So this is about Sacrifice 3, which was sculpted by Jacques Lipschitz. You have been called to sacrifice. Sharpen your blade and open your heart to the patience and love of Adonai. You split your consciousness in two. You take your dog. You select an animal to send to the glory and love of Adonai. It could be a griffin or a sphinx, or something closer to your heart. It could be something you can't afford to lose to the majesty that is Adonai. Do you recall, or does your memory interfere? Do you see yourself with your hands around a chicken's throat, rather than the son you killed? This is about sculpture Large Pulcinella by Sorel Etrog. This lockdown is the point. My cross guard is one piece with my blade. The guard is hopelessly twisted. This frustration is more than a symptom. This is about the second in the Sitting Figures series by Lynn Chadwick. I have been featureless now for 1,000 years. It is neither punishment nor reward. Look at me. I promise I can look back. Everything works within me as well as it works within you. I have lost something you need, but I remain content. Have you seen my arms, my legs, my breasts? They're a little unusual, I grant you. I am not afraid to be proud of them. This is from Pablo Cascal's obelisk, sculpted by Armand. Movies bleed into memory. I can scarcely see what's in front of me for flashes of a lover's just dead blood painting a flawless violin. But there is nothing flawless here. This is the tower of broken parts, never intended for repair. Acid wasn't very good by the time I was using it. I witnessed a lot of fights, initiated a few more. Now I see overlays. I dream, or if I hallucinate, if you really prefer that term, on top of whatever I'm experiencing, stacks of reality mildly distracting me from yours. Now I am more than whole. Behind the red paint, behind the just dead lover, peel away the broken violins and find a hammered copper structure of no use to any human, yet ready to last for 1,000 mortal years. One more. This is called Traveling Light. It's on the sculpture Traveling Light by Alison Sarr. My black wife and I went to a gallery opening. The exhibit was a mix of painted photographs and mixed media sculptures on the subject of the lynching of black Southerners. The artist was a white man, and he was attempting to explain his work to two other white men, as well as educate them on the source material and events. The two observers were agitated and aroused, thrilled to be there for such an important exhibit. They said the subject was painfully heavy, But the work was kind of cathartic, too. My wife did not sleep that night. This sculpture is a black man hanging from his feet. His head is hollow. He is a bell. The clapper had to be removed from his skull so people would stop ringing it. That is all I know. Thank you.